Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop and another episode of the Abom79 Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Booth, along with my wife, Abby Booth.
Hey everybody.
We have some stuff to talk about today.
We do. I think we should jump right in.
We should jump right in, and I wanted to kick off by saying I hope that the audio is going to be a little bit better this time around. Abby has been doing some editing on the first couple of episodes, and we had some technical difficulties there with our audio on the very first try. That was a complete fail. The second try, I messed up the audio again, and we've been trying to work around. So the first actual episode, the audio wasn't great in it, and we're hoping that it's going to be better this time.
We look like pure amateurs, and I'm okay with it.
And we are. We don't know what we're doing. And we talked in that first episode, we were just going to start with the camera gear that we have that we use for making our YouTube videos. We got a GoPro. We have a Rode wireless mic. But Abby is trying to kind of jump into this whole podcast thing, do some research on her end and try to figure out software that we can use and mics that we can use, equipment. And I think we're going to try to actually set up like a studio room.
That's right.
At the house. We have an extra bedroom that was Abby's office.
Mm-hmm. But I'm working here full time now, so I don't need the office.
Exactly.
Yep. So I think we're gonna get it all cleaned out, and we're gonna turn into our podcast studio.
Yeah, I think it'll be more comfortable, being in the home setting where we can sit in a comfortable chair.
Yes.
And have our laptops there so that we can use them too. I've been enjoying it here, and the shop here has good lighting.
It does.
And it's I have skylights here in the shop, so that's another reason why we have good lighting in here. So it is a comfortable place. But this area that we're sitting in is going to be more full of equipment and machines and tools.
Yes.
So we're going to be losing this openness that we have right now. Right?
Yes.
We're just kind of enjoying the space that we have. So anyway, we're going to continue to try to make improvements on the quality, both audio and video.
Yes.
Going forward, we have a lot to learn, and hopefully you guys bear with us and don't mind it's not perfect. I don't know if it's ever going to be perfect, but we do want to try to improve the more that we get into this and the more that we do it.
Yes.
So that's where we're at on our...
It really is the craziest rabbit hole in the whole world to start researching equipment to use for anything really, but for podcasts. So I have spent a lot of time, and my brain is mushy. So
there's been a lot of things that's making Abby's brain mushy right now. She has been constantly working on the website, and I don't think either one of us realize what kind of work can and does go into trying to design a website from the ground up. It's exhausting work. It's so many little repetition things you have to work on.
It's just a million decisions. It's decision after decision, and I'm excited to be able to do that because this is for us.
Yeah.
But I think I feel nervous because I just want to do right. I want them to go on there and go, oh, this is cool, and not like, what was she thinking?
Yeah, you're hoping to impress the viewers that go to the website, and we hope that it's going to be a nice space that's enjoyable to look at and navigate through.
Yes.
And eventually, our hopes is to be able to purchase product from there as well. Abby's working on having merchandise that's going to be available through the website as well. So, as we said, there's just tons of all these little tiny details that you have to work on. And sometimes these little fine details take hours of your time to get one completed to get it right. So she's been working behind the scenes on that kind of stuff. I've really been working a lot behind the scenes without the camera going on other things that we're trying to do for our business. And it's all going to be coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
We're working towards that. I'm trying to get to a place where this is going to be like a launch, a reveal, and and show and talk about what we're doing and how we're wanting to go forward and proceed.
That's right. All right, well, let's go into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
This is going to be a mixed format day.
Yep.
Because I'm just going to ask you some things, and there's some things I want to talk about. So Adam and I just watched the 50th anniversary of Jaws. It was at Disney. Is that Disney Plus, I think? Oh, I should know that. But anyway, we just watched it.
It was either that or Netflix. But maybe it was
I'm sorry, but it feels like everyone has all of those now. And
maybe by the time you edit this, you'll know what network it is, and we can put it on there.
So,
but it was the 50th anniversary of Jaws.
The original Jaws, yes.
Yeah.
And obviously that movie made a big impression on both of us. We both loved the movie, and we both were scared of the movie. Well, maybe I was.
I think that movie made everybody in the world scared of sharks and going into the water.
So I am a scuba diver, so I absolutely love the water. I absolutely love the ocean. I think sharks are the coolest thing in the whole world. So, but anyway, I don't want to be eaten by a shark. Nobody does.
No.
But you have a connection to Jaws in your family, and I wanted to talk about that.
The family and the shop has a connection to Jaws. I don't personally, other than, I'm just, the third generation here.
Yeah.
But Jaws 2, which came out in 1978.
1978.
That was filmed in our area here, right along the northern Gulf Coast in Florida. So if I remember correctly, Pensacola Beach, Fort Pickens, Fort Walton Beach, the Destin area. I believe there was several places along our beaches here where they did film Jaws 2. But a lot of it was right here local. And I'm going to try to tell you just what I remember. Because Dad told me some of this stuff, and as with just about every story that Dad told me, he didn't get excited about things like we like to try to get
like
excited about. He would just say things because that's what it was. It was a matter of fact.
It was more like a job, just a job to him.
Yeah. So when they filmed Jaws 2 here, the crew is what I remember Dad saying. The film crew were constantly tearing things up and breaking things. They were here, so they employed Booth Machine Shop, my dad, to do a lot of things regarding metalworking and repairs and fabrication for the filming of Jaws 2. And so some of those things were the trucks that they used. He said the film trucks. He says they were always tearing stuff up. He actually didn't say it like that, but he goes, they were always tearing stuff up on them damn work trucks. So he said, I was always having to weld something for them or fabricate something. And I honestly don't know what these parts and pieces and things were. I have a visualization in my mind of an old Chevy truck that's got the framework all over the thing so guys can hang off of it and cameras can hang off of it.
Yeah.
So he did some stuff like that, is helping the film crew with repairs. But I think the biggest thing that Dad had a part of in Jaws 2 was making parts for the actual shark.
Yes.
And I don't have any kind of physical proof of the things that Dad machined and made for the shark, but I have a really strong suggestion of what it is. Because he even said, I had to make some cylinders for the Jaws. And the cylinders were used to open and close the jaws of the shark, but I think it was also used with the articulation of the shark as well. So I don't know where they used it in the shark to make the shark kind of move. But I have 2 pieces of drop fiberglass tubing still in the home shop that I saved purposely because those were the leftover drops that Dad purchased to make pneumatic cylinders for the shark.
That's so cool.
And the reason why they ended up using fiberglass, this is like a finished piece of fiberglass tubing that was designed to be used as a pneumatic cylinder. I don't know what the pressure of it was, what its capability, what its capacity is. But he had made these cylinder components because whenever they brought everything down here to the northern Gulf Coast, they didn't realize how salty the Gulf is out there. And he said it started rusting and corroding everything. Everything was failing and tearing up. So they had to repair and fix a lot of stuff. And the cylinders were one thing that were getting messed up, apparently. So he actually made or did some repairs on some pneumatic cylinders. So I know, in fact, the tubing, he made the barrels for the tubes. These were probably, if I had to guess, tie rod cylinders. So it had a tube, it had plates on the end where you have the 4 bolts that go all the way through that holds everything together. And of course you have a rod and a piston and a gland and everything. So I don't know what other components he had to make, but I know for certain that he had to make the tubes. And these were about 8 inches in diameter. So it was a pretty good sized cylinder. So one of these days I want to pull that material out and and kind of show that. So, 1978 is going to be the 50th anniversary for Jaws 2. So I'm hoping by that time, maybe we can bring this subject back up and we can show the material that we have saved. And I also have a check from Universal Studios.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because they're the ones that used to pay the shop. It was an actual check that had Universal Studios on there. And I have a check. I want to say it was for around $1,500 was the check amount. And there's also a newspaper clipping that Mom saved with that because they rented, I believe they leased some kind of warehouse down here on Navy Boulevard, which is where they stored a lot of the sharks, the equipment, probably the trucks, and where they worked on them. And there was a newspaper article that the Pensacola News Journal had put in the paper, and the picture was the front of the burnt up shark.
That's
so
awesome.
if I'm sure everybody's watched Jaws 2. If you haven't, I'm sorry, but there's a scene in there where the shark grabs on to I think it was Cable Junction is what the place was called, and the shark grabbed that cable and it got burnt up. So the picture in the paper was that shark that was all burnt up on the side.
Yeah.
And Mom saved that newspaper clipping, and she admitted this. She goes, we got to go down there. They invited us to come down there and just walk around and look at everything. And she said, I never even thought about trying to take a picture of anything. I mean, maybe they wouldn't have let her do that, but she's like, I didn't even think about taking the camera. That would have been so cool.
Oh my gosh.
To see some photos of that.
Yes.
See some photos. I would have loved seeing a photo of like one of the camera crews in the driveway and and them working on the truck out there. I
think this is something that I'm going to spend some time researching. I've been wanting to. I have a million things on my list, but I really wanted to look into this further because I think we could probably find some things. They usually took pictures out there in some way. So
that was one of the great things about the documentary on Jaws is that you finally got to see a lot of the construction, the fabrication aspect of it, where they built the shark, they built this whole framework and everything that moved the shark underneath the water and stuff. But there was a couple other things I was going to mention about Jaws 2 that I remember Dad talking about. So remember we just mentioned Cable Junction. In the movie, the kids were on their sailboats and they were sailing out to Cable Junction. And they get out there, they get stuck on it, And Dad told me that was a barge that they used. Oh. It looked like an island, with rocks all over it.
Right.
He said it was a barge, and the rocks on the side were all styrofoam.
Really?
So if you watch the movie, watch the movie next time, remember that when you see the Cable Junction Island, the rocks are all styrofoam and painted.
Now we need to go see it again.
And
Let's go watch it.
I remember him saying that he did help fabricate some brackets and stuff that went onto the side of the barge that held all the styrofoam rocks. So that was something else that he did there too.
That's so cool.
So that was pretty cool. And then I believe the scene, it was somewhere in the movie where the kids are starting to sail out to Cable Junction. There's a lighthouse scene, and they're like on the point. And I believe, if I remember correctly, that's Fort Pickens is where they filmed that. So that's Pensacola Pass. And I remember reading that they actually built a lighthouse just for the movie, just for that scene. And I think it was on the point, Pensacola Pass at Fort Pickens.
That's a cool area down there. We haven't been there in a while.
Yep.
You never go visit your own places as much as you should, wherever you live.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's awesome. I wish we had those photos. I wish we did.
Yeah, I do too.
That would be so cool. I mean, there's a lot of things I wish we had as far as your shop goes from the past.
They just didn't take a lot of photos back then. I don't know why. All they really thought about doing was taking family photos at, the holidays, but they didn't take anything of the work, the shop.
Honestly, we've gone too far in the other direction, in my opinion. I mean, you and me, we take pictures of everything we do. It's a little bit weird, but I mean, I'm used to it now, but even when I'm with my family and I'm not with him, I'm like, wait a minute, let me get a picture of this just in case. So I still do it.
We're like the only ones that's trying to take photos. Everybody else is still trying to walk. We're like, hold on a second, we're trying to get a photo here.
Yeah.
All
right, so let's move on to the next thing.
Okay.
So this is a complete change of direction.
All right.
I know that you have told this story before, and we talked about it the other day, but what is the biggest mistake you have made in the shop?
Yeah. I've made a lot of mistakes.
We all have.
A lot of dumb mistakes, and a lot of them are just stupid mistakes that you can get by. Occasionally you have to start over on a piece of material because you cut it undersized or just did something wrong, you know.
I get nervous when you have to work on the one-off things.
Yeah.
It breaks me out into a sweat, but you handle it well.
You get used to it when you're really engaged in it, you know, and that's just what you're doing every day, all day. You have a confidence about yourself and the work that you're doing, and you go and you just get the work done. There wasn't, like when I was at my previous job, you know, I did hydraulic cylinders every single day, all week long, rod after rod, glands, pistons, tubes, gearbox shafts, repair work for the gearbox department. You know, they had broken bolts and things all the time that had to be taken out. There's just all kind of stuff that we had to do. Yeah. That kind of goes back to the previous episode where, you know, job shop work. It was always something different, even though it was the same kind of work. It was just different parts. You're building a hydraulic rod, but this hydraulic rod's a different diameter. The ends have different dimensions on it, you know? So anyway, going into the biggest mistake that I made in the shop that I know for a fact was the biggest, costliest mistake was whenever I cut the wrong thread on a big prop shaft when I was working for Dad. I think the prop shaft in question was somewhere around 2 or 2.5 inches in diameter, so a pretty good sized piece of material. I do remember that the shaft, just the material alone, cost us $1,500.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was an expensive prop shaft, and I messed it up because I cut the wrong thread pitch on the end of the prop shaft, and the threads is where you have a threaded section for the nut, and you have a tapered section that the prop goes on there, and then the nut, you know, you have a nut and a jam nut that goes on there. And so I was cutting the threads for the 2 nuts that go on there, and I was using the Acroturn lathe. And I did not have the quick change gearbox set in the right selection. I was like 1 number off. This particular quick change had like a dial that went 1 through 10. So you had to, you know, turn these dials into the right selections. In this 1 through 10, you had to put it in the right number that corresponds with the proper gearing that's going to cut the proper thread pitch across there, or threads per inch. I don't remember what the pitch was, but these are always pretty coarse too. But I remember cutting it, and I had the nut there because a lot of times we would just thread. Once we get really close, we just take, you know, a thou at a time until we get the nut to fit on there the way we want it to. A nice machinist fit. And I remember I never could get that nut to go on. I'd make a pass, thread it, and after getting really frustrated, I finally decided, you know what, maybe I should check the threads with a screw pitch gauge. And I checked it, and my heart sank, and I'm like, oh no, I cut the wrong pitch. I don't even know what I cut. It was something that wasn't like a standard thread because it was really in an odd position.
Yeah.
It cut a lead on there, but it wasn't any kind of standardized thread per inch. So I cut it wrong, and the problems just kept getting worse and worse. Yeah. So we tried to, since the threads that I cut on there was beautiful, you know, and if you're looking at it, it looked like a proper thread, but it was the wrong thread per inch. So we decided to machine 2 nuts to fit the thread that we cut on there.
Okay.
We had this big chunk of stainless down there. It was a piece of round stock. So I had to spend another day making some nuts, some custom sized nuts to screw onto that prop shaft.
That you did not get to charge for, obviously.
Yeah, so, yeah, and I can't remember if Dad, I'm sure he charged them. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. I don't want to say something false, but I think he still charged them, but really he only charged to try to recoup the material. So we made the nuts, we got it finished, got the job done, and we give it to the customer. It was for a big commercial boat, and nothing was working. The taper on it wasn't seating properly to the prop. They said the nuts kept backing off, getting loose, and it just wasn't right.
Yeah. And
it was already kind of like ruining our reputation. So Dad told the customer, I'm going to order another piece of material, and we're going to replace that prop shaft, and we're not going to charge you anything for it. We're just going to We're just going to give you what you paid for and get you a new prop shaft because, you know, I'm sure the customer is frustrated because you got this boat that's out of the water.
That's right.
And they charge you per day because you're having to fix these things, you know, and they charge you a day fee to have these big boats pulled out at the shipyard down there. So I'm sure this guy was, you know, already furious because it was taking longer than what it needed to. And it wasn't looking good for the shop, you know. But we tried to do the best we could. We apologized. We admitted what I did wrong, that I cut it wrong. And so going into that story is why in all of my YouTube videos where I'm doing single port threading, I show the screw pitch gauge, which is what you use to verify your threads that you're cutting, you know, your threads per inch. And that's why I always say, when you're getting ready to single point thread something, always make a scratch pass, you know, 2 to 5 thousandths deep. That way you can see the pattern across there, and you take that screw pitch gauge and you line it up and you verify that you're cutting the correct pitch. That little tool is inexpensive to buy. Even if you buy a new one, it doesn't cost a lot of money. You can buy them used all day long, and it's a really cheap investment to make sure that you're cutting the proper threads on your workpiece instead of just thinking, okay, I got the gear selection correct on the lathe and it's right, so I'm just going to go with it. And then so that's what I did, and I messed it up. So as you can see, that was a costly mistake, and you know, and it didn't look good on the shop either. So I felt terrible about it, but what do you do?
No, I mean, this is how you learn.
Well,
you have to do that. I mean, I've done that too in my previous job, so that's just the way that it goes. How old were you?
I was early 20s, early mid 20s maybe.
So a few years of experience, but not too many.
Yeah, I probably, I don't know. It probably was 5 years into, you know, me doing machine work.
Is that one of those things that you have a knot in your stomach, like still when you think about it?
Just talking about it, talking about it today really kind of put a knot in my stomach because I just remember how much chaos that failed job give us and the people that you know employed us to make a prop shaft. So, you know, of course we never saw that guy again. You know, but I felt good that we made it right. That Dad said, we're going to buy you another piece of material. We're going to machine it right this time. We're not going to charge you anything else, because he was trying to make it right. You know, so that was the costliest mistake that I remember making. You know, like all those gearbox shafts that I used to machine at the previous job, I don't remember ever scrapping one. You know, cutting a bearing journal undersize, I don't remember. I just can't remember one ever really standing out like that prop shaft did. But
just because that happened, you probably take just a few extra seconds, a few minutes, whatever it takes, just to know that that's not going to be done again.
When you have a very expensive piece of material in the lathe that you're having to machine, you have to make sure that you're doing things right. So it's okay to spend a little extra time measuring and double checking yourself instead of just quickly measuring something, thinking you got the numbers right, and all of a sudden, boom, you cut it undersized, and you've got a piece of 4140 that you just cut, that you just ruined, basically. And now the company has to buy another piece of material and get it in. So you do need to take your time and make sure that you get it right. And I was really proud of all those shafts that I made. I loved doing it. You know, I was hoping that I was going to do some more of those here in this pacemaker, but it just really hasn't worked out for me to take in that same exact work. But I had a lot of fun, and all those years working there, you know, I was constantly learning and improving my own skill set. You know, the more you do, year after year, you're just getting better and better and more efficient at your job. So getting through those jobs quickly, you know, becomes a little bit easier the more that you do. You get used to the tooling that, you know, gets the job done. You get used to the feeds and speeds that get the job done quickly. And I was very fortunate that I got to share a lot of those on the YouTube channel, you know, with the audience.
I have been learning, as I keep telling everybody, I've been kind of picking up some of his books and going through them, and it is a lot to learn. I mean, I'm a graphic designer. I know that if you sat down in front of it, the simplest things would be more difficult for you to figure out. It's just knowing your own job, and I know that. But I think this is one of the most intimidating things I've ever been a part of, just because like you learn one thing and you're like, oh, okay, I got this. And then that thing has 250 variations, and I'm like, okay, wait. So I'm still having him have to explain things to me, or he'll explain something, he'll say something to me, and I'll go, okay, back up. What does this mean? So I'm trying to like make myself a list of everything, because it's hard to learn all this. This is amazing.
Dad said it right. He said being a machinist is a lifetime of learning.
Yes.
And everybody needs to have that mindset that we're always learning. We don't know it all. Some people pretend that they have all the answers and they've had all the experience and they don't need to learn anything new or improve on that. But no, we're always learning, and it's always so easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And we all do it. The people that pretend that they don't are lying, because we've all made mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to accept that or to admit that.
Yeah.
But as we said before, mistakes that I make, I show it in the videos because I want to be transparent about that, that I'm not perfect. People call me a master machinist. I've never called myself a master machinist. There's a lot of things that I've never done in a machine shop. There's some equipment that I never really got to run, but I did a lot of time in the lathe, a lot of time on the mill, and a lot of time on that old horizontal bore mill. So those are machines that I was very familiar with. I was familiar with how each machine operated, what each machine could handle, what it could do, and how accurate it was.
Yeah.
People would be shocked if they realized how out of tolerance the old American pacemaker was that I used to run. The tailstock, we eventually fixed the tailstock, but for years it was below center line. And you don't think you can cut an accurate shaft with a tailstock on center line. Technically, you're not supposed to be able to, but you can. When you learn how to operate that machine, there's been plenty of times where you make a long cut and you have to measure it, because you have to see if you have any taper in there, if it's smaller on one side and bigger on the other. And I got so efficient at that machine that I could figure out how far along the tool advanced, and I could reach down there and bump that cross slide handle like a 1/2 thousandths, and I knew that it would move in about a 1/2 thousandths, and then keep going, and then another 4 or 6 inches or whatever, you'd bump another 1/2 thousandths. That way you were pretty consistent all the way down.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a hack job, but when that's the machine that you have to use to do your job, you have to do it. You can't go complain to people and say, well, I can't use that machine because it's out of tolerance and I need a new machine. You have to just do your job.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I made it work. So you're always learning. You're always learning, you're always improving, and don't be scared to try to learn something from someone else. Even another machinist in the shop, somebody younger than you with less experience. There's always things to learn and takeaways. Everybody picks up on things in a different way. But I don't pretend I have all the answers, but I know what I'm good at. I know that there's certain things that I can go over to the lathe and do. I know how to indicate something in. That's not a brag. I understand what I need to do to get the job done. And it is very frustrating whenever you're trying to enjoy yourself, enjoy your evening. Let's see what people are saying about the video, and then they're slamming you because you're taking too long for using a 4-jaw chuck.
Yeah.
What a waste of time.
You get that a lot.
This person would rather waste time by taking that chuck off the lathe than putting a 3-jaw in there just because they don't want to have to indicate something in. That's the kind of stuff that we've listened to for 12 years on the channel.
Yeah.
And they don't know the full story. But we talked about that in a previous episode, I know. I was taught by Dad, by Granddad, by Sonny, and by Junior. And I learned and picked up a lot of things along the way from other people as well, just working in the other shops.
Yeah.
You always pick up on things. And the way that I got my job done, I got it done efficient. When I was building hydraulics, I was efficient. I got them done quick. I got used to turning and threading rods very quickly. I recently showed a little threading job over there in the Precision Matthews. And I was purposely kind of threading it kind of slow so that the video would pick up on that. And there were several people in the comments that were slamming me for how slow I was threading that, and then telling me how much faster they could get that job done. There's plenty of times I was over there threading at 600 RPM in a blind hole with a 1/4 inch to spare, but they didn't see that.
Right.
So that's what I mean is like, don't try to take away someone's experience just because you watch one video and you don't think they're doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing it a long time, and I'm not perfect and I don't know it all, but I know what I'm good at and I can get the job done.
Yeah.
And when I'm trying to share a project on the channel, I'm trying to get video to share with those who actually enjoy trying to learn something.
Yeah. All right, so if you watch your videos or not, and you decide that you want to get into machining, what do you think is the first machine that you should buy?
The first machine, there's 2 machines, and I think those are kind of obvious, a mill and a lathe, and both machines complement each other very nicely.
Yes.
But both of them can actually do turning in and milling, technically. A lot of the older lathes, like South Bend, for example, they had right angle attachments that you could bolt to the cross slide that had a vise on it, and you could put a cutter in the chuck and use that as like your spindle for milling something. But I think if someone wants to acquire some machinery, you ought to look for a good used milling machine to kind of start with, but you also need to be looking out for a good used lathe as well. I think both machines really do complement each other well. A lathe, you can do turning, so you're doing cylindrical work, you're drilling pieces, you're threading pieces, and a milling machine is more in lines of making something flat or drilling with it. Some people like to say they're glorified drill presses, and they kind of are, but if you have a good one, it can do a lot of things, So if you got to make something flat, if you got to take a piece of material down in thickness, you're milling it, so you need a milling machine for that. You can use it for boring holes, get a nice boring head in there so you can bore precision holes with it. So those are 2 machines that I would definitely start with. And of course there's other support machines that you need along the way too. You need to have a good bench grinder, a pedestal grinder, that you can grind drill bits and tool bits on.
Which is another thing that you get a lot of comments on.
Tear me up for the way that Dad taught me how to grind a drill bit. I mean, it's worked for 28 years and it worked for years for him, but you're doing that wrong. You need to do it the way that I was taught how to do it. You can see that we have a soft spot for all of the negativity that we get on our techniques that we use around here.
Yeah.
I think this is, look, we're not trying to be negative here.
No,
this is an outlet for us to be able to talk and just talk this stuff out. We have good spirits here, and we want everybody to enjoy this, and hopefully everybody's kind of jumping into the conversation and thinking, why would somebody say that,
Yeah.
But this is just an outlet for us to be able to just talk freely about things, where when we're trying to do a YouTube video on a project, you can't spend 30 minutes or an hour just talking about stuff. The reason why we did what I call the machinery shuffle is because we're adding 2 more Milltronics machines this year, hopefully pretty soon.
Yes.
I'm hoping in August is when
Yes.
we're going to be told that, hey, the machines are ready, we're getting ready to send them down there to you. But I decided that I wanted to try a different style of CNC lathe. I wanted to go with a slant bed style, and I think that's going to help with a little bit of ideas on production work. I have absolutely loved that tour mill and getting to learn my very first CNC lathe work on that machine.
Yes.
And that's an excellent machine.
It's a little bittersweet for you.
It is.
Yeah.
But the problem that we have in this space is that we're very limited on how much space we have. We have 2,500 square foot, and that's including the office space over there. So we have that whole area that we can't put machines in. And I think if I had to pick one, I chose, let's go with the slant bed lathe, and we're going to move the tool room lathe out just because I don't have enough shop space for it. And so we moved it over here in this position so that we could put it up on the market and hopefully sell it and move that to a new home, and put it in another shop where they can use it.
Yes.
We've had a couple people that had mentioned like, hey, I might be interested in that. So hopefully we're going to have somebody that wants it. It's a very low hour machine, and then so we're going to be adding another Milltronics mill, and it's going to be sitting right over here in the middle where the TRM was sitting. So we knew that we had this stuff coming up, and we wanted to go ahead and get a jump start and move the machines around.
So what is the weight of the mill?
The
Approximate.
mill, the mill was, I want to say around 7,000 pounds was
And
the mill.
the lathe?
The lathe is 8,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
4 tons for the lathe, and the mill was real close to that, but not quite as beefy as the lathe. And Abby wanted to help move them.
That was the first time I've ever used a toe jack. It was my first time, and basically I'm like, I don't know what to do what you just said. So on everything.
And if you watch the video, you'll see some of that. But
yeah.
I tried to be very calm.
You were.
With Abby. We talked about general safety facts before we ever started, about not putting your fingers underneath a lifted load.
Yep.
You know, when you're trying to slide a block underneath the machine, it's kind of natural, if you're not used to it, to just kind of put your hand underneath there.
Yep.
You know, and I told her, I said, don't ever stick your hand under there. If you got to put a board on it, you know, put your fingers on the side of the board and slide it in. And even if you need to get something out, stick a board up in there and use that to kind of pull something out of the way. Just never put your hand. So we had general safety. We had a safety meeting before we started.
We sure did.
And Abby did great.
My favorite one was, if the machine decides it's going to fall or lean in one way or another, you cannot stop it.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's like an obvious duh, but like, I'm glad that you said it to me, because yes, I know. And I think, we watch all those boat videos, the qualified captain, people are trying to stop a boat from falling off. You're not going to stop it.
Or
Sorry.
They're trying to hold the boat from rolling down the hill after it came off of their, hitch
their
ball.
truck. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it went really well. I could hardly move my body the next day.
We were both sore.
We were both so
Yeah.
sore. We were up and down, and the chips.
Never ending chips, right?
I did not. You've talked about it before, and you can hear someone say it, but until you're having to sweep the chips, you do not understand. They come out of everywhere.
As soon as you move the machine, they're
It's
like falling
unbelievable.
down.
So it got to where it was comical, actually. So, but it was I had a great time doing it, and it went really well. We had no, catastrophe happen.
Yeah,
So
we had
that's
no
a good
mistakes.
day. Yeah.
We had no mistakes. We worked really well together. We
did.
took our time, and we were able to. So the first day, we lifted the TRM up, got it on the skates, because we needed to push it back at least a foot to give us enough clearance to pull the CNC lathe out from between the pacemaker and the mill.
Yeah.
So we needed to get the mill pushed back. So that's a job in itself, just getting it lifted up. And that was Abby's first time using a toe jack and machinery skates.
Yes.
And everything went really well. Now you understand how a toe jack works.
I do.
And what it's used for.
And we're getting ready to move a lot of machines, so I'm going to get to help you, and I like that. So we know we don't have to hire someone. I like knowing that you and I can do it together.
Yeah,
so I won't be scared next time.
I wish that we were in a position where you can just hire that out and have a crew come in and do that. But the fact of the matter is it is very expensive.
Yeah.
They have to charge a lot of money because they have a crew they have to pay. And I had him come in and give me a quote, and it was probably 3 times higher than what I was hoping to hear.
Yes.
So when we got that quote, we both said, well, we can't afford to do that. So we're just going to do it ourselves. We have the forklift that we purchased.
That helped a lot.
And we bought those cheap machinery skates off of Amazon. I think we've got $250 invested in the skates.
Yeah.
I already had the toe jacks there. I've already moved a lot of machinery in my days, so it wasn't like I couldn't do it. It's just getting to the point where it's like, do I really want to spend my time doing that? And you have to make the decision. Well, yeah, we have to, because we need to invest our money in other things, not having somebody move the machine around the shop.
Well, I think the mill looks like it's always been sitting there, so
I'm happy with it.
I really think it looks great.
It's in a good spot. I'm really happy with it. I've been over there running it. It's been running more the past 2 weeks than it has since I've had it. And
by the way, the leveling of it blew my mind apart. I mean, it's such the tiniest little amount of movement, and it's off. And he pulled out the fell, which was so cool. The fell level. Yep. And it's a precision level, which I honestly didn't really know that you had that. So
in case anybody's listening and not sure what that's fell, Fell. That's the brand. That was the inventor of the fell level, and it's a 2-axis level. So you're looking down at the level, and you have a bubble and you have a grid pattern in there, so you can level the machine in both axes at the same exact time. And it's so sensitive. It's a 1/2 thousandth of an inch per foot. So you really, if you just barely move the leveling bolt just a little bit with a wrench, you can send it the wrong way too far.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sensitive. So you got to see that for the first time too.
Yep.
And it's nice having somebody to help you do that, because that person can be just standing there watching the level and then giving the information to the person laying down on the ground adjusting the bolts, instead of that person having to get up and down,
It took us over an hour to get it. And
Yeah.
and he was down there going, I just moved it just a little bit. It's way off. No.
Well, and if you don't use it every day, it's easy
Yeah.
to forget that you have to give it time.
Yeah.
It's such minute movements that the bubble's moving, you just can't see it moving.
Yeah.
And then you don't think that it moved, and then so you go and you tweak that bolt again, and then you're gone 2 lines the wrong way. It's almost like that bubble gets to the top dead center, and it doesn't like the top dead center.
Yeah.
So it's just going to roll to the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
That's kind of like what it feels
But
like.
I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I'm thank you for letting me help you.
Well, I'm glad.
Thanks
I'm
for
glad
teaching
that you helped, and I'm glad you got some new shop experience. That's all part of working in a machine shop.
But even just the smallest things, you saying, that's not what we say. We say headstock, we say tailstock,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. You were telling me what I needed to say to give you the directions and things like that. So it just helps me learn.
I try to tell you things in correct terminology.
Yeah.
So that,
which I appreciate.
So that you just start getting familiar with what these parts are called,
Yeah.
and
All right, so we're about ready to wrap up, but let's talk about one of your favorite tools.
All right, I'm ready.
Because I mean, you have a lot of tools, you collect tools, a lot of precision things, but you use the same things over and over. So
Yeah.
tell them your favorite tool.
One
of your favorite tools.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite
Yeah.
tools, but if I had to just pick one of my favorite tools, it is this guy right here, which is a Starrett 6-inch double hook rule. In addition to that, the 12-inch Starrett double hook rule. And I say double hook rule because the hook is on both sides of the scale, and I prefer that over the single hook. I have the single hooks, but it seems like every time I want to use it with the hook, it's on the wrong side, But if I had to pick a favorite tool, it's this guy right here. This is an inexpensive tool to buy. I don't even know how much they are now. They're probably going to be around $50 or so, which is
You'll have it forever.
It's not a big investment for a tool
Yeah.
that you're going to have for your entire career.
Right.
I mean, we have picked up tools like this that lived in a machinist toolbox for decades,
Yes.
right? Satin chrome
I
finish.
specifically look for those because they're gorgeous.
Yeah, so this is the satin chrome finish on the Starrett. This is one of the things that Starrett perfected so long ago is rules. They are the best. And that's my opinion. Everybody has their favorite brands, and I think that this is the best one out there. So this is the model number C604R, in case you're interested in this exact hook rule. But that is my favorite tool, and so many years it just lived right here in the pocket. I used to wear coveralls, and the pocket right here had that little division where you could put pins, and it fit perfect right there all the time. So my hook rule was always right there. I like having the hook because it makes it really easy to measure things, because you just hook the end of the material and you measure it that way. So it's convenient. It's a nice little fidget thing for your hand, like this. You can also use it to stir your coffee if you want to.
No.
That's what every machinist does, is use rules to
Did your dad do that?
Stir their coffee. No, he wasn't one of those, but I know a lot of guys did, because a lot of machinists go around and they have their rules in their little pockets here, and some of them are stainless steel. And so it's just a normal thing in a machinist's life is, you go make your coffee and you pull your stainless rule out, you wipe, you just wipe and then you stir your coffee up, you wipe it again, you put it back in your pocket. That's just what you do. That's part of being a machinist.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that's one of my most favorite tools right there. It's inexpensive, and it helps you out with so many different jobs. So get you a Starrett double hook rule. You'll love it.
We should order some of the it's not a jumpsuit. What is it called?
Coverall.
The coverall. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've never had a pair, so maybe we should order some with our
We should
logo on
get
them.
you some. I've still got a whole closet full of coveralls, all the ones I used to wear. Going through my 20s, I continued to grow and get bigger, like a lot of people do. But when I first started working with Dad, I was 17, so I was still growing. I was still growing into an adult, and I eventually I started getting big because I kind of let myself go and I started gaining weight, and it got to where it was starting to get a little uncomfortable wearing the coveralls, and eventually Dad, he didn't want to have to pay for uniform service anymore. So we decided that I'm just going to go buy t-shirts. That's when I got into the pocket tee, and I just went and bought some just cheap work pants from the uniform place. And I got to where I was just wearing pants and t-shirts, and I've always just kind of stuck by that now.
You do have a uniform. When I do laundry, it's hilarious. Everything is black.
Yeah.
Everything is black. It's funny, but almost everything I own is black. So
there's a reason why it's black.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it helps hide stains.
Absolutely.
I mean, try eating food with a white shirt on.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed you're going to get something on it.
Yeah.
Which was what my experience was. So I was like, well, if I wear a black shirt, you're not necessarily going to tell that I dripped something on my shirt there. So the black just kind of helps hide the grease and the stains, and some people don't care about that. And it doesn't matter, but that was just my thing, I just went with the black shirts.
Well, I think it's about time for us to wrap up. We got to go make some barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
So
we went to the butcher shop earlier.
We did.
I got me a steak for the weekend, and it's about time to fire up the Hasty Bake.
I agree.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up. I think it's been a good episode. We've had a lot of good stuff to talk about, and we have a lot of good topic ideas to talk about in future episodes.
Yes.
Abby she keeps a list, and we constantly add to that list when her and I are just having our normal everyday conversations, talking about work, ideas, whatever just pops up at the moment.
Yeah.
Her or I will both say, hey, let's make that into a podcast episode.
Yep.
So,
and if you guys have any suggestions or anything you want to listen to him talk about, or questions that you need him to answer, just pop us an email. I'll put it up on the screen.
Definitely give us some ideas in the comments, and we'll take those in consideration. If we see something that we like that we would love to talk about, we'll add it to Abby's notebook.
And we'll try not to complain about comments as often.
It's
just part of this.
We're all dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's kind of dealing with it more upfront and in their face now, because I think people are starting to get tired of it. I think people are getting exhausted.
Yeah.
And I think people are finally taking a stand.
Yeah.
And they're calling others out on it.
Yeah.
And
because we're all just regular people here trying to exist. We're not giant corporations trying to show our content. Like, we're just regular people. So.
Yeah, but I think a podcast gives you the ability to talk freely about things. Yeah. And we want to keep this positive, and we want people to come and enjoy it. And we hope that everybody is.
Yes.
But we have a lot of good things to continue talking about. So hopefully this will continue on and just be a good thing for us to do. But we are hoping to get our little studio area set up and improve the audio, the video quality, and hopefully, get into this and have a little bit better
more
experience.
Comfortable. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you come back for the next. We'll see you then.